In this video, I want to talk about combining functions that are a little bit more complicated. So f of x is equal to x over the square root of x minus 3, and g of x is equal to 5x plus 3. So we want to find f plus g of x and write its domain in interval notation, and then find f times g of x and write its domain in interval notation. So basically what happens is when we combine functions, any problems with their domain are problems with the domain. They continue to be problems with the domain. So any problems that we have with any domains here, we're going to keep those problems in f plus g of x and keep those problems in f times g of x. So it's not too difficult, but we just need to remember that those problems stick around. So let's first see what's actually the domain of f of x here. So the domain, we can't have, so the square root of x plus 3, so the stuff under the square root can't be negative, right? But also it's the bottom of a fraction, so it also can't be 0. So x minus 3 needs to be greater than 0. So x needs to be greater than 3. Okay, so the domain for this should be from 3 to infinity. And then the domain for this one should be all real numbers, or from negative infinity to infinity, because there's no problems here. So when we look at f plus g of x, we just need to remember that those domain problems are going to hang around. So when we find f plus g of x, it's just going to be 5x plus 3 plus x over the square root of x minus 3. Now there's nothing we can really do to clean this up or combine like terms or anything like that, so we can just write its domain in interval notation. Now remember that any problems we have from either of these domains are going to hang around, so there's no problems here, but there is problems here, so we'll just keep that same domain. So the domain should just be from 3 to infinity. Okay, let's look at f times g of x and then write its domain in interval notation. So f times g of x is going to be x over the square root of x minus 3 times 5x plus 3. Okay, now when we combine these, we need to remember that 5x plus 3 is, there's no fraction part, so it's really over 1. So when we multiply them, we just need to multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So when you multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across. Multiply the two numerators and the two denominators. If there's no denominator in this case, like there is in this case, it's just 1. So it's x times 5x plus 3 over the square root of x minus 3. Okay. So this is 5x squared plus 3x over the square root of x minus 3. And that's about all the simplifying that can be done there. So now all that's left is to write the domain. So again, any problems that we had in the domain of the first two, we're going to inherit those problems when we multiply them. So the domain should just be from 3 to infinity. And that's it. That's how we combine functions that have a little bit more complicated issues.